How's it going, guys? Welcome to my, I suppose, 2024 Succession Ninja Guide, as you can already not tell from the title. This guide is going to be a brief rundown of every single skill that I believe is relevant on Succession Ninja's kit. It is categorized into several categories. We are going to be going through IFrames. Can my notepad scroll? Hold up. Here we go. All right, there we go. IFrames, super armors, frontal guard movement, unprotected movement, and then finally alert stance, which is a core part of Succession Ninja's kit. So these are going to be the categories I'm going to be going through, each ability in the category. It's going to be a very brief rundown. I do not do timestamps, editing, or anything when it comes to my videos, if this is your first time watching a guide of mine. So as you're watching, if you want to put it on 2x speed so you can go through it really quickly. That's what I normally recommend most people to do, or like 1.5 speed, and just kind of catch everything as I go along. I will be doing my keyboard in the bottom left-hand corner right here if you just want to see how I move my hands as I put inputs in and, like, you know, do stuff and whatever it is. So if you just want to see that, there you go. You can look at it. And then on top of that, I will also have my key inputs in the bottom right, so you can actually see them live here as well. I'm just going to note some things really quickly, a couple more things before I start off. First off, when it comes to Succession Ninja, some things that I do believe are mandatory. You're going to need a good skill UI, good cooldown UI wherever on your screen. This is how I have my cooldown layout set up right here. I also look at the bottom bar right here as well, alongside right over here, to see my cooldowns. And then I have my extra one in the top left right here that I use to see what my grab cooldown is. A bit, you know, why wouldn't you put your grab here, whatever. It's just how I'm used to it. So this is how I have mine set up. Regardless, I recommend that whatever skills I have on the bottom bar here, these two right here and here, make sure you have all of these skills, and you can put your grab as well, somewhere on your screen so you can see them. All these skills are important to track on Succession Ninja, and unfortunately, Succession Ninja isn't really a class that you can play without proper cooldown tracking, like some other classes where you don't really need the UI as much. So just keep that in mind, remember it, try to set it up. Second thing I wanted to mention, there is one specific thing when it comes to Succession Ninja that you're going to really want to keep in mind, and that is, right, where is it? Here. Normally, your special interaction 3 button is going to be bounded to F. This is how the game default sets it, and this is how most classes play their kit. So, for example, this would be your F key, and then if I wanted to do, let's say, my skill floor sweeping, you would normally input SF, okay? The thing is that on Succession Ninja, we have a Magnus skill that we really want to use, which is called Cutthroat. And unfortunately, this skill, when it was created, uses the F key, which is a conflicting input with our most used movement ability. You literally use this every second. Go Step, which is WF. So if, let's say, this key is bounded to F, and then I have my Magnus skill unlocked, which you want to keep the skill unlocked because it has some unique animation cancels that you can use it for. When I'm trying to do Go Step, you can see right now it is... Oh, well, never mind. You can see that it messed up. I'm trying to hit WF, basically, to do my Go Step input, and you'll notice that it's working fine right now, and the second my Cutthroat skill is now off cooldown, meaning it can be used, you'll watch my inputs here. It messed up. You can literally put your input in perfectly for the skill, but unfortunately, if you do your F even a micro millisecond earlier than your W, sometimes even if you hold your F just a little bit longer, you'll end up getting the Cutthroat out. So as a result, this skill was basically unusable unless you locked it. But there's a workaround. You're going to go here, you're going to go to your action hotkeys, and you're going to bind your F key to R. And then on return, you're also going to go to your action hotkeys. You're going to roll all the way down to the bottom here, and you're going to bind evasion WW to F. And what this is going to do is that now I can input WF. You can see me hitting my F key on my normal keyboard on the left, but you can't see it on my right side keyboard here because this is now R. And I'm hitting WF, and it is giving me Go Step. I'm used to hitting WF, so I just keep hitting it. Technically, I could just hit F, and it'll give me Go Step. But I just put add WF anyways because that's what the input is and what I'm used to. And now, if I want to use my Magnus skill, I just hit R. Very simple. And this is a workaround to make sure you're able to use your Cutthroat skill without worrying. Now, the thing is that you might be wondering, well, this might change some of your other inputs to be like Shift R. Let's say for my boss slaughter, instead of being Shift F, it would be Shift R, as so. But the thing is that on Succession Ninja, you have the added benefit of not really using F input at all. Like, you don't use it. You lock this skill, which is your only other F input that you normally use frequently, and you put it on your hotbar, so you don't need to use the F key for this. And then floor sweeping is the only other skill that you will use on Succession Ninja, maybe even ground thrust with the R key. So you're just going to get used to using SR for this one skill. Outside of that, you literally will never press your R key. You just use it for your Magnus skill only, and then your life is very, very simple. You can also rebind your interaction key to G. That is what I did instead of my R key, because your interaction keys normally are. And yeah, a little bit of a ramble at the start, but I want to get that out of the way because it is very important for the class. And if you are wanting to play this class, please make sure you do this adjustment. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on being able to use this skill properly. So, yes. Anyways, I think that's pretty much everything I usually want to cover early on. The only other thing I will mention is that this guide may potentially be updated once again and re-uploaded in about a month because they are currently in the process of doing a giant class rework where they're changing a lot of classes. So when that time comes around, I'll just re-upload the video with the new adjustments that they made to the class. So we'll see when that happens. Regardless, though, I'll be starting off. Keep in mind, once again, things will be pretty brief for mentions on this and all the skills that I'll be going through. And then towards the end, I'll loop back around. If there's anything extra I want to add for maybe some of the skills or something, I'll just put them in at the end, and I'll just go through back. Starting off, IFrames. On Succession Ninja, we have 6 IFrames. We technically have more, but they're not true IFrames is the best way I could put it. So these are the IFrames that I usually will consider IFrames, quote unquote, on the left-hand side here. And so we're going to be starting off with Ghost Step. Ghost Step is your most used iframe skill that you're going to be using pretty much at all times. It is this skill right here. There's no linger towards the end, and the iframe is pretty short. The forward version has collision, and then it can also go backwards and side to side. So backwards and side to side, just like this. It also has a stamina cost, so keep that in mind. That is Ghost Step. It's a 1-second cooldown. You're going to be using it a lot. You can mix it in between pretty much all of your skills as you use them, one by one by one. Second up, we have Ninja Step. This is your second fundamental movement iframe that you're going to be using a lot. It's W+LMB+RMB, just like that. You can see at the end, my iframe animation ends very abruptly towards the end of the skill. You cannot use this skill and then sit in it for like a half second and then move. You pretty much have to use this skill and then move immediately. That is how the skill works. So W+LMB, and then you're going to immediately want to exit out into something like Ghost Step. That's Ninja Step. It is a 6-second cooldown. Also uses stamina. This skill has no collision, so you can run through targets. Block Jump. This is one of our most important iframes, but it has a long cooldown. It is also the only iframe on the kit that lets you move instantly. This is the skill right here. Shift Q. So what it does is it drops 1 block on top of you, 2 blocks on the side, left and right, and then you can either hit A to go to the left block or D to go to the right block. You can also hit the W key if you have an opponent in front of you right here, and then when you hit the W, as you can see, it'll CC them with a stiffen. What I personally recommend is that you typically will never use the W version on Succession Ninja, not too often at least. It is much more efficient a lot of the time if you have an opponent in front of you and you want to get behind them. You hit Shift Q, you're going to hit an A or D key, and then you're going to drop a CC skill, whatever that is. You'll learn it as you go through the kit, but that is what I personally recommend. That's Block Jump. There's no stamina cost. It's 18 seconds. Keep this on your cooldown bar. Super important. You're going to be using it a lot for movement and getting catches. Oni Shadow. Now we're getting into the fun stuff. Oni Shadow, Shift X. Actually, before I go through the skill, I'm going to go through Concealment first, and then we'll go to Oni Shadow. Concealment, this is our stealth skill. So if you hit this skill button, you're going to notice I'm going to go into stealth in a second, but you'll also notice that there is a movement involved when you're initially entering the stealth, and it'll also give you iframe when you do that movement. As you can see. So gave me a little bit of movement, and then also gave me like stealth towards the end, and then I can sit in the stealth based off this buff duration on the left-hand side. So that's Oni Concealment. As you're moving around, keep in mind that you will lose stamina. Oni Shadow is like the Rabam version of this skill. What this does is that instead of having that like how do I explain it? Initial starting animation you can immediately just hit Shift X, or I recommend using Shift X. Don't hotbar this. You can hit Shift X, and then boom, you do the same thing, and then you're instantly in it. And on top of that, based off of this buff bar on the left-hand side, if you hit WF, you can re-enter your stealth. So I can be outside of stealth, I'll hit WF, and then as long as this buff is up, I'll be back into stealth here. Cool? Sounds good. That's Oni Shadow. This skill is also alongside Concealment. These two skills are one of your most consistent iframes. So, Concealment is one of my most consistent iframes. I'll loop back around to Concealment later on to talk about some more stuff about it. For now, I'm going to move on. Fatal Blow. W+LMB+RMB. Where is it? There it is. W+LMB+RMB. There's two versions of the skill. There's the normal LMB+RMB version. There is no stiffen on this. And then there's the W+LMB+RMB version. You see the mini iframe? It's extremely small. You see it? Extremely small. This skill, you're not really going to use it as an iframe. Don't try to dodge skills with it. It's just very nifty to use as like a quick animation cancel for some of your other skills. So you'll combine it with other skills at the end of them to give yourself a little bit of movement, and it's super nice. It's also a really good CC skill. If you want to see how big the AoE is on this skill, look at this. Is that not kind of crazy? It's like a bat wing if you can think about it. And it has a stiffen on the end of it. So it's super nice to use. Try to use it out. Super nice. And it also has a plus 20 melee AP buff. That is Fatal Blow. Finally, that is pretty much it for all the iframes in Succession Ninja's kit. We're going to be moving on to the super armors. These are the only two true, like, kind of super armor movement skills on Succession Ninja. We have two other technically super armor skills, but this video is mostly focused around movement, so and protected stuff and stuff like that. So these are the only two protected super armor true movement skills on Succession Ninja. Shadow Slash is the first one. It's going to be pretty short, so just keep your eyes open. It's side LMB to either direction. Sorry, 1 second. I'm going to pull up the skill to show it to you guys. Where is it? I'm looking for it. There it is. Side LMB to the left or the right. And it also gives you an attack speed buff. So, you ready? That's Shadow Slash. So, you can go either left or right. There's two different unique animations for it. The left side one is technically a little bit longer than the right side one. So, if you want to lose Shadow Slash as a super armor linger, you're going to want to go left, and then you can linger a little bit longer. If you want to use Shadow Slash as an animation cancel, you want to go right, because it's faster. Quick little tip you can keep in mind as you use this skill. Outside of that, it uses stamina. It has a halt on stamina, so if you try to use this skill to regenerate stamina, you can't. You just don't regenerate stamina while using it, so just keep that in mind. And that is pretty much Shadow Slash. You're going to use this skill a lot. You're going to like move around, Shadow Slash, move around, Shadow Slash, and then you'll linger it. Keep in mind, again, you have to be careful with your stamina while using this skill. And then finally, our only second other super arm movement skill, Cutthroat. Super short. I mentioned it earlier with the rebind, so I'm going to hit my R key here to use it. That's Cutthroat. So it's like a little quick dash behind somebody movement skill. I'll show you one more time. Just like that. And keep in mind, it's not a teleport. It actually moves you. So if you have something in the way here on the left-hand side, it always goes from the left. You actually won't hit behind your target. So if I do it like this, you'll see I like kind of miss. I'm not behind him. I'm like to his side. It's a little buggy. You'll get to use it and learn about it a little bit more. So try it out. That's Cutthroat. Really good damage skill. On top of having some movement with it. That's pretty much all our super armors. Let's move on to frontal guard movement. So we only have 3 frontal guard based movements on this class. We have another one that I'll be mentioning later, alert stance. But for now, these are the only separate like individual ones. We're going to be starting off with our first one. This is Go Slash. This is a Rabomb skill. You're going to have to bind this to a hotbar key. I personally have it on my backwards mouse button. Sorry. My backwards mouse button right here. I press this button right here. So, backwards mouse button, Go Slash. I'm going to hit it. There you go. Let's Go Slash. It's a 20-second cooldown, pretty long. It's a nice movement skill that costs no stamina, so you're actually going to use it a lot. I recommend getting good at using this skill. It's super, super nice, and you can tell who are good ninja players by how well they use this skill, actually. So, Get good at using the skill. Super, super nice to use. No stamina cost. Something that is very important on this class because we don't have a lot of skills that give you movement without using stamina. This is one of the very few, probably 1 or 2 or 3. That's about it. Next up, we have Ankle Cutter. Where is it at? There it is. Shift LMB. Now, this is the prime version of this skill. So the prime version of the skill, the way it works is that you're going to hit Shift LMB, and then you're going to hit RMB. Okay? Shift LMB, RMB. Now, if you notice, the movement part was super armor, but the beginning of the skill is frontal guard. So this is not a super armor movement skill. It is a frontal guard movement skill. You have to always start in frontal guard. So, for example, if I'm trying to run away with a skill, and this is like my opponent, and he hits me from behind as I do the skill, I will get CC'd because he's hitting me behind my frontal guard. And regardless of if you're in the super armor, because of how ping and desync and whatever works on this on BDO and the servers, you're going to get CC'd out even if you're like halfway in the air in super armor state. So just think of this ability as a frontal guard based movement skill until the very end where you're sitting. Some cool things to know. It has a really long super armor linger at the end. So that's nice at least. It doesn't really do a lot of damage. It's mostly just for movement. Just keep that in mind. It has a minus DP debuff on it, but you don't really care about it. So that's Ankle Cutter. Next up, Illusion of Restraint. So another one where it's technically movement. The way this skill works, I unfortunately can't show you. So I'm going to show you a pseudo version of what it would look like on your screen. The way this skill works, if you read the bottom text here, I'm showing it with my hand, but you can't see it. It says evade backwards quickly on blocks. So if you drop this skill, and it's a frontal guard, I'm going to show you right now. And as they hit the front of it, it'll look like this. It'll do a little dash backwards. That's it. And the dash backwards is iframe. So it's a frontal guard into an iframe skill. Some things to note. One, the iframe backwards activates immediately, regardless of what part of illusion you're in. So if you're about to take damage and you drop it, on frame 1, you'll immediately dash back. Exactly like that. It'll look pretty similar to that. So that's illusion. Second thing to know, the iframe is really inconsistent. For some reason, it will work. Sometimes it'll work well, and sometimes it just won't work well. That might sound really dumb to someone that's new to the game, but if you've played the game before, you'll know what I mean. So that's Illusion of Restraint. This skill costs no stamina, so you can technically use it as non-stamina based movement. People that are good at using this for movement are extremely good ninjas, in my opinion. So, yes. And that's pretty much all the frontal guard based movement. We're going to go on to unprotected movement. Unprotected movement. Where is it? There it is. So, starting off, we're going to go with Shuriken Flight. Where are you at? There you are. SQ. And then you have, as you see, LMB or RMB to perform extra attacks forward or backwards. So this works very similar to Ankle Cutter, which we covered just a bit ago. You're going to hit SQ. It's going to be unprotected at the start. And they're going to hit LMB to go forward or RMB to go backwards. Now, as you notice, again, this is super armor. But because of how it works and its functionality, it is inherently a unprotected movement skill. You cannot use this skill in front of somebody's face. You are just going to get slapped around and caught immediately. Trust me on that. If you use the skill enough, you will really know what I mean. So do not consider this skill as protected until... actually, just don't consider it as protected. The way you use this skill is going to be you're going to get like behind somebody, and then you're going to like use it away from them. You need to be very smart about how you use this skill. It is one of your biggest gaps. It does not cost any stamina, so it's super nice for that. And the super armor linger on it is pretty decently long, so it's nice to use. And the next up, we have Crescent Slash. And with this, as you can see on my hotbar right here, and here is the skill on the list. There it is. Crescent Slash. It has a prime version, but it says absolute here. This is kind of my idea of the Holy Trinity: Ankle Cutter, Crescent Slash, and Shuriken Flight. Skills that are super armor at the end, same thing on Crescent Slash, but unprotected or frontal guard during the beginning. So, input for Crescent Slash is going to be SLMB into RMB. 1, 2. Once again, unprotected at the start and protected at the end. Think of this skill as an unprotected skill, because otherwise you're going to get gapped. You can animation cancel this skill, as I just showed you just now, by using Ghost Step into Crescent Slash. I'll do it one more time. Ghost Step into Crescent Slash, and it'll speed up the beginning just a little bit. But the skill is still unprotected, so you cannot use this in front of somebody's face, especially when they're already tossing a CC. You'll just get caught. That gap is easily big enough to get caught by most people. So Yes, be very careful while using the skill. Once again, it costs no stamina to use this skill. It actually does pretty decent damage in combo because it has good accuracy rates, but don't think it's going to be. But don't think of it as like an actual Giga Burst skill or anything like that. It just does okay damage against evasion targets. But mostly, you're going to use it from a bit. So, super nice. Quick thing I'll add to the three Trinity. I shouldn't call them holy because they're kind of trash. Anyways, the three Trinity, you can mouse move these skills. I mouse move them a lot. So, if you want to see what it looks like when you mouse move them, wow, look at that. I didn't move forward or backwards. I just stayed in the same spot. It's kind of nice being able to do that. I'm going to do the same thing for Crescent Slash. Just like that. Shuriken Flight, you don't mouse move it. You don't really need to. You can. It's kind of a flex. You can do it. I'll do the backwards version and show you what the mouse move looks like if you want to see it. It's kind of a flex. You can like hit behind me. But you're not really going to do it. You're mostly going to mouse move Ankle Cutter and Crescent Slash. I personally recommend only mouse moving Ankle Cutter. You don't need to mouse move Crescent Slash. The reason you do this in the first place is that when you use Ankle Cutter, you have to... It follows your camera at all times. So you can see it follows my camera at all times. But sometimes I want to go backwards... Or sometimes I want to go forward... but then like look behind me or go backwards and look in front of me. You know what I mean? So if my opponent's right here, I don't want to take my camera off of him to look at, like pay attention to him. I'd rather just mouse move him and then not move towards him because maybe I don't want to move towards him and still be able to see him. That's why you mouse move it. Crescent Slash, on the other hand, you can flick it. So what I'll do is I'm going to flick my camera backwards for a second during the second half and then look back at my opponent. And then I'm still keeping my eyes on him. So you don't need to mouse move Crescent Slash. You should mouse move Ankle Cutter is my recommendation. If you're new to the game and you don't know what I mean by mouse move, don't worry about everything I just said. That is kind of more of an advanced thing if you've played other classes. You'll learn as you go on. Now, those are a little bit of a long explanation for these three, but we're going to move on now. We have Ghost Greeting. We have some players here. Ghost Greeting. This is their skill. Shift W+LMB. A little bit of a weird input if you're familiar with other classes. This input is not used very often. It is technically, you're going to see iframe in the very middle, but the skill's iframe doesn't really work very well. And unlike Fatal Blow, you're not going to try to use it that often for the iframe. You're just going to use it as movement, and you're going to treat it as unprotected movement because that is typically how it works. And also the first few frames are pretty unprotected. The skill is a really nice animation cancel for some other skills, like the next skill we're about to cover right after this. Keep in mind, this skill does not use any stamina, so it's super nice as a like just real quick non-stamina cost skill. It has an attack speed buff, but it's completely useless, so don't worry about this attack speed buff. And yeah, that's Ghost Greeting. Now, speaking about animation cancels from Ghost Greeting, the next skill we're going to talk about is Shadow Stomp, SE. That's that skill right there. As you can see, it looks kind of trash because it's frontal guard and then unprotected at the end. Just like that. If you want to see where the skill is on the list, there it is. It's down E. It says frontal guard before attack hits. The damage modifiers are like okay-ish. It has a really good accuracy rate though. And it is a CC. It has a float. Just like that. Now, the way the skill is actually supposed to be used is that you're supposed to animation cancel into it like this. I just use Ghost Greeting to animation cancel it. And basically, it just means that that initial animation is gone and it's just an instant activation. So, that's super nice. Also, something key to note about Ghost Greeting, you can use this skill off of cooldown. So even if it's on cooldown, I can still spam it. But the thing is, I just don't gain the distance that you normally do. So you can still use this as an animation cancel for Shadow Stomp, even if it's on cooldown. Something nice to know. Shadow Stomp has a bunch of different cancels on the skill. There's a lot of different ways to cancel them. I'm just going to go through the ones that I know that I personally use off the top of my head, and then I will after I mention that, I'll move on. So first one, Malice. Second one, Evasive Malice. You can come back here and watch my animation cancels again if you want later after I've covered all these skills. But yeah, so Malice, Evasive Malice, Smoke Screen. You can use that as an animation cancel. You can also use Shuriken Flight. You can use that as like an animation cancel on combo. So you can do SQ into SE. You're not going to use the second half of Shuriken Flight. You're only going to use the first half. Like this. What's some other skills? Floor Sweep. I use this one actually sometimes. You can use that as an animation cancel. And that is pretty much about the only ones I use. I don't use anything else except alert stance. Sorry, alert stance, which we'll about to go through in a second. Alert stance. So those are pretty much most of the animation cancels that I use for Shadow Stomp. I don't really use anything else. If there's anything else that you can think of and try using, there's probably a good reason I don't use it. Shadow Stomp. That's it. Boss Slaughter. This is Boss Slaughter. You're going to want to hotbar this skill. So you're going to lock this and you're going to hotbar it. I recommend putting it on a hotbar key that is comfortable for you to use W or S. Okay? Because you're going to hit W into the hotbar. Or S into the hotbar. Okay? So keep that in mind. Put it on a comfortable key. I have gotten used to using it off of 3. But unfortunately, I'm only comfortable with hitting W3. And I'm not comfortable with hitting S3. It's a little, you can see my fingers. They look jank. So instead, I bound it both to my 3 key and my mouse button key. And when I want to use the S version, I hit mouse button with the S. So that's what I do. So that's Boss Slaughter. The way it works is that this skill has 2 versions with the W and S. The upward strike and a smash attack for the down version. The upward strike's a float. The smash version's a bound. The skill is a range skill. The range is about this. Watch my indicator. See how my indicator is right here? Let me hide my name. You see how my indicator is right here? If I just barely go outside of that, that's the max limit of Boss Slaughter. Okay? So it's just barely outside of that red range. Now, you're wondering probably why would you want to use the S version since a bound is weaker than a float if you're experienced at the game. If you're new to the game, a bound is technically weaker than a float because it has a shorter CC duration. The reason is because the W and S, even though the CCs are different and the WCC is stronger, how do I explain it? The animations are different. So the W animation is longer than the S animation. This means that if I want to get out of this skill extremely quickly, I am actually faster to use the S version than the W version. I'll just show you it real quick. My S version, I could do S Boss Slaughter into like a ghost step is what we'll do. You can see it right there. That's pretty quick, right? Now I want you to watch the W version. You're going to see a very clear animation of me hitting up, and then I'm going to kind of lag there for a millisecond and then dash. You ready? You see how it's a little bit longer? Just a tad bit. But the thing is that that's the key difference maker between getting caught sometimes and not getting caught. So when I try to use my Boss Slaughter as a catch, I always use my S version. If I'm trying to use it as like a connection for a grab, I always use my W version. Using W Boss Slaughter into grab, that is faster for grab canceling. Using S Boss Slaughter into running away, the S version is always faster. So this is a really probably confusing for someone that might be new to the class. You can always come back and watch this later. Just remember that. It's a little bit of an advanced trick, but it's something really good to know for later on. That's Boss Slaughter. Nothing else I really need to mention on the skill. It is extremely good for following up range CCs if you want to use it as that. So if you hit like a Malice as a range CC, I'm not covering that in this video, Malice, but I've covered it in my other videos. If you hit a range Malice or as a CC, Boss Slaughter is a really good follow-up, so you're going to use that. Outside of that, it's not the greatest catch, but I'll explain in a little bit why you might start using it as a catch now. Evasive Shuriken Malice, I'm just going to cover this and then we'll go on to Alert Stance. Evasive Shuriken Malice is DQ or AQ or WQ. WQ version. This probably looks really jank to you, but yes. WQ version, it's a range CC. DQ version. Here's a skill if you want to see it on the sidebar. There it is. Or AQ version. Oh, wait. AQ version. I never use AQ. That is so, I don't know how you press that comfortably. You see, like, I'm trying to hit it like this. That's uncomfortable. I normally just use DQ like this or WQ. Just like that. This is what it looks like. Once again, it's a range stiffen. It has extremely long range. So if you follow your indicator, it is about a 1.5 length of your indicator if you use the WQ version. As you can see. So that's Evasive Malice. Now, we're going to go into Alert Stance. And I'm going to follow this up by the list here says Smoke Screen first. But I'm going to cover Evasive Shuriken Malice first. Because we just talked about it. So, Evasive Shuriken Malice if you happen to hit RMB during the skill, you're going to activate this skill right here called Alert Stance. And I'll just show you what it looks like first. Would you look at that? I went into Alert Stance. So basically, Alert Stance is a frontal guard quick dash. You can see a super armor icon pop up for a millisecond there. This skill is technically super armor into frontal guard, but you should really just treat this as a frontal guard because the super armor is so minuscule. You're most of the time going to notice and treat it as a frontal guard because that's just how it functions. Okay. So treat it as a frontal guard. It does require stamina to use this skill, and it also, on top of that, uses stamina. Halt stamina, so you cannot regenerate stamina while holding this. While holding this little stance here, you can't regenerate any stamina. So this skill is the main cause of Succession Ninja having extremely bad stamina problems. You just spam this skill. I'm gonna obviously go through all the skills in the top bar here that that you can use it, but I'll just give you a quick demo of like how much stamina you consume using this skill. I'm gonna use all the skills back to back to back right now. So, you guys ready? We're gonna do it real quick here. Now I could have done that faster, but you get the general idea of what it looks like. That is Alert Stance and all the ways you can use Alert Stance, all the skills you can use it from. Now you're never gonna use Alert Stance like that, where you're combining all the skills and just using it simultaneously. You don't use Alert Stance like that. You mix Alert Stance in as you move around, and you're gonna use it like this, and then I'm gonna use Alert Stance again, and I'm gonna use Alert Stance again, and then I'm gonna wait, and then use Alert Stance again, right? And then like I might use it here. So you don't really want to spam it together. You kind of want to mix them in. So yes. Now, as to going through the skills, as I mentioned earlier, evasive mouse, shuriken mouse is one of them. So this means that you can use this as like a gap closer on somebody. Cool, I can like kind of gap close on them. And also, because Alert Stance moves you forward when you use evasive shuriken mouse, if I want to go around my opponent, let's say I want to follow him in a circle from the right side here, I'm going to use my D version of evasive mouse, and I'm going to turn my camera this way and then hit RMB. And you see I'm kind of following a circle around him. So that's how you use Alert Stance with evasive shuriken mouse. Next up, we're going to go on to smoke screen with evasive Alert Stance. Smoke screen into Alert Stance, super simple. I haven't covered smoke screen yet, so I'll cover it now. This is the only protected CC skill on Succession Ninja. This is not a CC video, but it's the only protected CC skill on Succession Ninja. It's a stun. You can enter smoke screen by hitting spacebar during any skill in the entire kit of Succession Ninja, except for Ankle Cutter and Crescent Slash. Those are the only two exceptions I'll mention. I'll talk about this in a little bit. But outside of that, every other skill in the kit, you can hit spacebar during it, and you'll pretty much go into smoke screen. So, for example, I'll just do Go Step into smoke screen. And if I hit RMB during smoke screen, I'll go into Alert Stance. And it does a little dash there. So, that's Alert Stance. Super cool. Off of smoke screen. There's not really much to mention outside of that. Next up, I have Beheading the Dead. Shift E into RMB. So, Beheading the Dead has two versions of the skill. It is a AoE unprotected CC skill. There is the fast version, which is this. Or sorry, that's the slow version. My bad. If you just do it stationary, it'll give you the slow version. But if you do it after like specific skills, I'm not going to mention all the skills in this video right now, but we'll just say Shadow Slash. That's the main one you use. So if I do Shadow Slash into Beheading, you'll notice it's faster. Now, if I press RMB during the middle of the skill, before the blades come back in, it'll give me Alert Stance. Just like that. So that's Alert Stance. You can make it so that this way you can use Beheading the Dead as like a kind of a almost safe protected CC. Keep it. It's still not really that safe, to be honest with you guys. You'll see as you play the class more, but you can kind of try to use it as a protected CC this way. Make sure you always cancel this skill with Alert Stance. Next up, we have Black Moonlight. The skill is Shift C. Where is it? There it is. Shift C. Just like Beheading the Dead, there's two versions to this skill. For Black Moonlight, you have the slow version, as so. And the slow version will give you a float. And then you have the fast version, which you can use Shadow Slash once again to animation cancel it. I'll just show you that one. There's multiple cancels, but we're just going to use Shadow Slash. And that's this one. And then you can do Alert Stance. Something to note for Black Moonlight, you get alert stance faster if you use the slow version of Moonlight. So if I use the slow version of Moonlight, I get the alert stance out faster. For Beheading the Dead, it's the opposite. If I use the fast version of Beheading the Dead, I get the faster alert stance. So, the rule on Black Moonlight, use the slow version to get fast alert. On Beheading the Dead, use fast beheading to get the fast alert. A little bit weird, but that's just how it works. Next up, we already covered Evasive Shuriken Malice, so we're going to skip it. And then finally, Cutthroat and Boss Slaughter. These are our two newest additions to alert stance that they most recently added. So, Cutthroat, we're going to hit the R key. I'm just going to hit RMB at the end. And does my teleport into my little dash. This one's really cool because basically this means that Cutthroat turns you around and then your alert stance goes backwards, right? So this version of alert stance goes backwards while Smokescreen and Evasive Malice go forwards. This is cool because Cutthroat itself already turns you around. So, let's say I'm trying to run away from like my opponent here. If I'm trying to run away from my opponent and then I hit Cutthroat into alert stance, I don't get punished for using a frontal guard movement because it's facing towards him as I'm using it. So, Cutthroat into alert stance, extremely efficient for movement while trying to run away from somebody. Super, super, super efficient. So, keep that in mind. And then finally, Boss Slaughter. Probably the most useless alert stance out of every skill we have. I'm probably not going to use alert stance off this skill too much, but if you wanted to, you can do that into alert stance. I already talked about Boss Slaughter. I don't recommend using alert stance off of this too much. Personally, I just don't think it's that good. It's a little risky. Anyways, yeah. So that's all. That's pretty much every skill I wanted to cover, and all the mostly brief overviews. I'm gonna go through Concealment once again, really quickly, and then that's pretty much everything I want to talk about throughout all the skills. So for Concealment, the reason I wanted to come back to it is because Concealment is very unique on Succession Ninja compared to all of the other short swords, because we are the best ones at using it. Awakening Ninja has Concealment, and Kunoichi, both versions have Concealment, but Succession Ninja is the best user of Concealment, hands down. I just got a notification for someone giving me a follow or something. I don't know, whoever followed or whatever. Thank you. Anyways, Conceal. I'm not live streaming right now. Concealment can be used on Succession Ninja, not only out of Smokescreen. So as you can see right here, normally this is a flow from this skill. But on Succession Ninja, we can use this skill out of multiple other skills that we frequently use. So to start off as an example, during Ankle Cutter, if I'm on the second half and I hit spacebar, I go into Concealment. That's crazy because normally a lot of people don't know this, and as a result, you can kind of immediately hide after using this skill, and or maybe even use Ankle Cutter as a way to get double iframe chains. So, for example, as you just saw, I did Ankle Cutter. I can do Ankle Cutter into Concealment, into Oni Shadow, into Ghost Step, and do 3 iframes back to back while being completely stealthed. So watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 3 iframes. I just did 3 iframes. The other player did not see me move from here to here. They can't see you. You're invisible. So this is probably hands down one of the stronger mechanics on Succession Ninja. This is extremely 1v1 based and like small scale, small scale based, if anything. It's better as a disengage. Keep in mind, this is like just a really strong way to disengage from PvP. So it's not like incredibly OP, especially considering the fact that this is a 30-second cooldown and Concealment is also a 20-second cooldown. So this is a pretty long cooldown, but it's a very, very nice mechanic to note that you have, and a lot of people don't use and abuse this enough. And everything I just mentioned, by the way, it's not only off of Ankle Cutter, it's also off of Crescent Slash. I'm by the end of Crescent Slash, I can also hit spacebar and basically do the same exact thing. And the third thing, and the craziest part, is that you remember alert stance that we were just talking about, right? You can do it this, right? Every alert stance, all right, at the end of every, not every alert stance. You can't do it back to back. But what I'm saying is when Concealment is off cooldown, if I do if I do beheading into alert stance, I can hit spacebar and I'm in Concealment. So that is the third way to use Concealment. It is out of alert stance. It works out of every version of alert stance. So if I had concealment off of cooldown right now and I do evasive malice or alert stance, I can hit spacebar right here and I would have done concealment. Same thing for Cutthroat, same thing for boss slaughter, same thing for moonlight, same thing for smoke screen. So if I can do smoke screen, I can do smoke screen, alert stance, spacebar, concealment. So keep that in mind. I pretty much never use concealment off of smoke screen anymore. I use it a ton off of ankle cutter and crescent slash. So really big tip to keep in mind as you learn the class for using the skills, movement, and everything properly. Anyways, long video, 40 minutes. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it was on 2x speed, so you only spent 20 minutes. And yeah, that was pretty much everything I wanted to cover, and all the basically movement skills on this class that you're actually going to use. There's technically some other stuff that maybe I missed, like Shadow Clone or whatever, but if I'm not mentioning it, it's because it is trash, or I don't use it personally, okay? So just keep that in mind. This video, once again, will be updated if the new version of Succession Ninja that they update in, like, I don't know, I think a month or something. When they update it, I will try to update this video if it's needed. If this video doesn't get updated, it's because it wasn't needed and this is still up to date. So anyways, hope you enjoyed my 2024 Succession Ninja protected ability list movement guide thing. And yeah, I hope you guys take care. That is pretty much everything I wanted to mention. Later. Also, I'm not really playing video anymore because AOS ranked isn't out. So if you are wondering why I'm not streaming, that is why.